The truth will set you free, but first, it will make you miserable. Everyone loves the first part. It sounds heroic, almost divine, but no one ever frames the second part on their wall, because misery isn't marketable. We crave awakening without collapse, freedom without the funeral of who we were. Yet the truth doesn't offer half deals. It comes whole, light, and wound together. We were raised to praise honesty as long as it's comfortable. We tell children to speak the truth, then punish them when it's inconvenient. We post quotes about authenticity, but curate our lives into something digestible. We think of truth as a gentle illumination, like morning sunlight spilling over clean sheets. But truth rarely enters that politely. It kicks the door open at 3 a.m. It exposes the stains you learn to ignore. We want revelation without consequence. We want to heal, but only if healing doesn't require a surgery. So we hide in half-truths, tiny, well-decorated cages. We call them careers, relationships, faith, even purpose. We polish the bars and convince ourselves they're windows. We repeat affirmations over the sound of our own denial. The illusion is efficient. It keeps the system smooth, keeps the dinner table peaceful, keeps us from asking questions that would burn down our comfort. And because everyone around us agrees to play along, we start mistaking agreement for reality. We call cynicism maturity, detachment wisdom, and numbness peace. But under all that performance, the body still trembles. The lie requires maintenance, constant editing of what we see and feel. That's why truth feels violent, because it dismantles the architecture of pretense we've spent decades decorating. The illusion isn't evil. It was built for survival. But survival isn't living. It's breathing inside a coffin painted to look like a home. Then one day, the crack appears. A phrase, a silence, a loss. Something pierces the fabric. The truth doesn't arrive with trumpets. It seeps in quietly through the exhaustion you can't explain. It's the night you stop defending someone who never saw you. It's the job promotion that leaves you emptier than before. It's the mirror that no longer accepts your practiced smile. At first, you resist. You label it burnout, phase, spiritual test, anything but what it is: the collapse of illusion. The body rebels, the mind bargains. You pray to go back to when ignorance was still warm, but it's gone. You can't unknow what you've seen. You can't unfeel the rot beneath the polish. This is the miserable part Garfield spoke of, the middle ground between the lie and the liberation. A limbo where everything you believed melts without giving you a new shape. You feel suspended, like a ghost who hasn't been told he's dead. Friends call you distant. Family tells you to be grateful. Therapists label it transition, but inside it feels like demolition. And maybe that's accurate, because truth doesn't renovate, it raises. It clears the ground until nothing false remains standing. You will grieve versions of yourself: the obedient, the optimistic, the believer. Each funeral makes you lighter, but also lonelier. You begin to notice how much of your life was built to impress people who were asleep too. That's the cruel mercy of truth. It isolates you long enough for you to hear your own heartbeat again. The breakdown isn't punishment, it's punctuation. a pause before the next language begins. Eventually, the debris settles. You stop asking, "Why me?" and start whispering, "What now?" The silence that follows truth is strange. No applause, no guidance, just the echo of your own breathing in a room stripped bare. This is when most people run back to distraction. They repaint the ruins, call it a fresh start, and repeat the same pattern in softer colors. But if you stay, if you let the quiet stretch, something shifts. You begin to see the architecture of your delusion, not to hate it, but to understand it. You realize the illusion wasn't an enemy. It was a cocoon, necessary until it wasn't. The misery of truth was never about pain itself, but about losing identity. You weren't mourning facts. You were mourning the person who needed those lies to survive. And in that mourning, you glimpsed something terrifyingly beautiful. Freedom without narrative. No role to play, no certainty to hold. Just presence, raw, unornamented. You start speaking less, listening more, not out of wisdom, but because words suddenly feel like camouflage. You see that truth doesn't fix life, it reveals it. It doesn't make you invincible, it makes you real. And reality, once faced, isn't as cruel as you feared. It's simply indifferent. And somehow, that indifference feels cleaner than the affection built on illusion. You look in the mirror, finally able to meet your own eyes, and you don't need to flinch anymore, because the truth didn't destroy you. It just destroyed what you were never meant to be. Freedom doesn't feel like flight. It feels like gravity returning. You walk slower. You breathe deeper. You stop needing the world to agree. The truth that once broke you now moves quietly through your veins, not as doctrine, but as clarity. Nothing to prove, nothing to defend. Just a calm awareness that what is real doesn't need to be liked. And maybe that's the paradox of awakening. You lose every illusion that made you someone and discover peace in being no one in particular. So yes, the truth set you free, not through revelation, but through ruin. And if you find yourself miserable today, don't rush to escape it. Maybe the misery is simply freedom being born for the very first time.